No, you're rolling right now. It's 134.
What did Ruiz give us?
Ray Ruiz.
Wait a minute, you're on the wrong chair.
Oh, what? Okay.
Well, I just cleaned off this chair.
All right. Okay. All right. We're moving chairs.
This one's more comfortable.
All right. Okay. I didn't know.
Wait.
This is not the way we want to start a show with chairs.
Wait a minute, are you filming?
He is. He's been rolling on this show.
Jesus.
All right. Anyway, Carol, my wife Carol, made these cookies that she rejected for the original use that she had made for them because they have too much chocolate.
This is not a problem for me.
Look at that.
I'm bearing the pain.
That's some fucking chocolate. And apricot. And coconut.
Jesus. All right, well, guys, I know you tune in here for hardcore political discussion, so we're going to start right this second. What is it?
Do we want to do IG report?
Hell yeah.
All right. Let me state both sides, because I'm going to, you know how you often start shows by saying you're not going to yell? I'm going to say that. I'm just not going to get that worked up, mostly because I have a little bit of seasonal affective disorder. That's when it gets to be winter and you get a little bit low energy and sad, because the days are short and you're reminded of your own mortality. And if you're in school, you're falling behind. And so, but anyway, I'm going to say the report says that while there were procedural errors, there was no bias, and that the reasons for getting the FISA and all that shit, they were legit. And you're going to say there were 17 procedural errors found.
So, I don't see the money that this fellow, we're supposed to give a shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
But he sent us a message. Ray, thank you.
Ray Ruiz, I think. Ruiz.
Ruiz, I'm not seeing the money.
That's all right.
I see something from Michael J. Lynch and Melanie Higgs, but nothing from Ruiz.
But, well, anyway, Ray, thank you.
All right.
It's a fake donation.
So is that all you have to say? That it was perfectly understandable?
No, well, this is where we're going to argue.
Didn't you read the document?
The document is...
Didn't you read? Okay, it's 400 pages.
I
read
read
the 20-page executive summary.
I read about half of it, and then I waded into there.
The good part.
I waded into some of the other parts. Like there's this guy Ben somebody, is it, later on, that, like some guy, like, you know, like when you see FBI agents or cops in general on TV, they don't play by the rules, cops. And you know, the FBI agents, Clarice Starling, she's meeting with like Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, and she's going off and she's having adventures but really I think working for the FBI, according to the sense of it I get from this report, is just you're doing a lot of paperwork and you're supposed to back everything up with forms and making sure that everybody at every proper level, you know, there was all this talk in that thing about how people at one level were informed, but people at other levels should have been informed. There was a lot of procedural shit, form filling out and forms that should have been filled out. So I would argue that given and then I read the part at the end, or no, it might have been a separate document where the current head of the FBI is that it's not Ray. What's his name? Not Ray Ruiz, who gave us money, but somebody Ray. The current guy.
Okay.
He came up with...
William Ray?
I forget. But anyway, he wrote a thing saying how they're going to address the issues that were raised in the IG report. And one of the things, came up was, one of the issues they saw is they've never had to investigate, never has an FBI investigation impinged on a major political campaign before, and they didn't have procedures in place, and this created problems. And now they're going to figure out, so among the 5 or 6 recommendations, broad sets of things that need to be addressed, and that the director is, well, we're going to figure out how to, basically said, we're going to figure out how to do it better next time. I'm burning.
And you're satisfied with that?
Well,
You want your FBI to break the rules, huh?
no, but I mean, you're going to say that I'm going to say that it makes a certain kind of sense given everything, and then you're going to say no. This is anyway. Go ahead, say your stuff,
So
and I'll
let's,
say my stuff.
if that's the best you got, here's the situation, guys. The IG report reveals that, one, the dossier was central and essential to beginning the investigation and continued through 4 renewals. So for over 2 years now, Rick's been telling me that the dossier wasn't important, that they had something else, and that something else, although he couldn't quite say what it was the real reason.
Oh, but I can now.
Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, one of the guys, Paul Manafort, was under FBI investigation before he ever even joined the Trump campaign, because for tax evasion, because he'd been paid tens of millions of bucks for doing work in the Ukraine, with Ukrainian, whatever shit he was doing, and then not declaring it, skipping out on taxes on it. And then Carter Page, for months before he joined the Trump campaign, was being discussed as he was a CHS, a confidential human source, but at the same time he was hinky. So the FBI was discussing whether to make him the subject of an investigation, which began, an investigation into him began within a week or so of the time that he joined the Trump campaign, but not, as far as I understood, because he joined the Trump campaign. So you had people who were being looked at by the FBI. Of the 4 major people who were involved in this investigation, Page and Manafort and 2 other guys, maybe, I don't think it was Papadopoulos, though Flynn, of the 4 guys who got roped in, 2 of them were already being looked at before they even joined the Trump campaign. And yeah, I'll give you that the dossier. Well, I'll even give you more. The dossier was a big part of getting, I believe, though my reading was not complete, was a big part in getting all 4 of the FISA warrants, the original one and the 3 renewals. And one of the issues found in the IG report, though I'll say again, they didn't find systematic bias, they just found procedural errors, except in the case of that one. Anyway, the dossier was the source of a lot of procedural problems, because the IG's investigation found that people at various levels were not adequately informed of the source of the dossier, which you've said all along, that it was Oppo, or that it was. So I'm giving you.
Hey, listen, can I please respond to some of this, because you're.
No, let me. I'll finish. I got one more sentence, and that people weren't adequately informed of the hearsayishness of it.
Okay. For 3 years now, or 2 years, Rick's been telling me 2 things. The dossier was not critical, that the investigation of Trump was based on something else, and that the dossier was just a minor factor. You've said that in like 20 videos.
I don't think I've said minor,
You
but
said
I've said there was other stuff.
There was other stuff.
And there was other stuff.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, there was.
It was central and essential. The other stuff.
Yeah, but
the other stuff you just mentioned
yeah.
was that Paul Manafort had evaded taxes. That has nothing to do with the investigation of Trump.
Except it wasn't,
The investigation of Trump,
it was the investigation of people around Trump.
I'm not talking about whether Manafort paid his taxes. You've been trying to convince me, one, that the dossier was not essential and was not the main component. And this IG report says it was central and essential for the FBI to ask for an investigation. So you were wrong about that. The second thing,
Because I
The
just
sec-
said
the-
there was other stuff.
yeah, but that's not what the IG report says.
Yeah, it does. If something can be central and essential, and there can still be all this other stuff.
Yeah, but the other thing
around
you
it.
said was that Manafort was investigated for tax evasion, and that has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, well, but you've got of the 4 people who were not
I'm
Trump is-
talking about getting the FISA warrants. To get the FISA warrants, you don't need a FISA warrant to prosecute Manafort for tax evasion.
Okay.
Okay, a FISA warrant is a warrant from a secret court that allows the FBI to investigate counterintelligence things, so traitors. Okay, so Rick was wrong about whether the Steele dossier was essential and central. That's what the IG report says. Number 2, Rick has been trying to convince me, and for over a year now, I've been calling.
I'm not going to convince you of anything.
For over a year now, I've been trying to. I've called Rick the last man in America that believes that the dossier is true. Okay, and apparently he was wrong about that too, because the IG report says that none of it was substantiated. That neither the FBI nor Steele nor even source
That's
number
not
1.
true. That's just not true.
Okay, let's read the IG report together.
All right, we
There
will
are
when
20
we're
pages.
okay. Well,
There are 20 pages.
at break because we're trying a new thing.
No. You said it's not true. How do you know that, Rick?
Wait.
I'm saying that the IG report has stated that the Steele dossier was false.
It doesn't say that. I'll
What does it
bet
say?
$1,000.
That it's completely unverified.
There's a difference between unverified and false.
Right,
And
but
some of it's been verified.
No, it is unverified, Rick.
All right.
It's
Well,
completely
when we break at the
unverified.
half hour, because we're trying
There
to
are
not.
20 pages in the executive summary. Do you want to read them?
Okay, you show when we break, you can show me in the
No,
executive.
this is fascinating. I want you guys to understand this. For 2 years now, I've been trying to tell Rick that he's the last man in America that believes that the dossier was true. Now, what we have here is an investigator general report being read by everyone in the country, and it says unequivocally that the Steele dossier has been completely unverified. It is worthless. And
That's
Rick's
not what it says.
Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay.
Well,
now
wait,
here's the
well,
thing.
hold on.
Here's the thing. I'm trying to prove 2 things. Number 1, that you all need to vote Republican. And number 2, because people like Rick are completely brainwashed and they don't realize it. Now, Rick, I'm going to note the time. What time is it?
It's like 11:34.
It's 11:34 on December the 10th. Rick Rosner still believes in the dossier, and I'm saying that it's completely unverified.
I've been pretty clear about what I believe. That the
No,
dossier.
you're completely unclear.
No,
Rick.
let me be clear again. The deal is the dossier contains a bunch of scuttlebutt, a bunch of hearsay, basically, and some of the hearsay has been unverified and unsubstantiated, and I don't know what of it has been proven 100% false, and some of it's been substantiated. Now, the stuff that's been substantiated mostly tends to be, mostly tends to be about what the Russians did. as opposed to what Trump has done. Like the most notorious part of the dossier was that the Russians, the government, that Putin had people that filled this fancy Russian hotel with surveillance devices, and then when bigwigs came to the hotel and did the shit they did, Putin would get compromising material on the people doing whatever the shit they were doing. And so there's this completely unverified and story that there's video of Trump having.
Rick.
I'm just saying this.
I know. You're boring everyone.
No.
Okay, there are things that you don't think are verified, but that's
and probably aren't true.
Okay,
but there's
okay.
other stuff. Here's the thing that's the fucking least substantiated, least verified, and the thing that I say that there's less than a 5% chance of being true, which is there's video of Trump having Russian hookers pee on a bed in this hotel that the Obamas once slept in.
Okay, Rick.
That's the P-tape story.
Rick.
So
you're trying to weasel out of this.
Weasel out of what?
Okay. The argument is not that some things were unverified, some things were false, some things were scuttlebutt. The argument that is being made by the Inspector General is that the dossier contained so much unverified hearsay and false accusation that it could not possibly be used with any credibility. It has been completely and utterly discredited. And whenever I say that, you say, no, but there are things that were true. It is discredited, Rick.
Okay.
You are the last person in America that thinks that the dossier is viable. Do you understand? It is discredited. The IG report says it is discredited. It cannot be used by any credible source, by any court. It is full of lies. It's not real. It's unverified.
Well, when you say it's not real, it's full of lies, it's unverified.
Yeah.
Unverified does not mean the same thing as it's full of lies.
They went to source number one. Source number one is the person that gave Christopher Steele the information. This individual lives in Russia.
I know.
Okay. Source number one says that none of it is verified. That's source number one.
But you keep trying to conflate being unverified with being untrue.
Okay, listen to me, Rick.
What do you want? What are you going to make your stand?
If something is unverified, then it cannot be used as a justification to put surveillance on the opposing candidate. It cannot be used as a justification for a warrant to spy on your opponent. It is unusable in any court of law. It means that if you were to use that dossier to attack somebody, an American citizen, you would be going to jail. You would be guilty of putting a fraud on a secret FISA court.
So when we break, we're going to see what the actual language in.
Okay. All right.
But one more thing, because I learned one more.
No, but you talked for.
Well, let me say one more thing, which is I learned more about what the dossier is by reading the IG summary.
Okay.
The dossier is a series. The dossier, everything came from Steele, but Steele would keep turning in report after report after report. I heard this, I heard this, I heard this, I heard this. Steele wasn't. The problem wasn't with Steele. Steele wasn't the one saying this is absolutely true. Steele is the one who kept saying, "Here's my report of what I've heard," and he submitted more than 100 of these reports. And all together, they comprise what's now called the dossier.
This is of no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, but it is because it's a huge amount of material.
Well, I've read the dossier and you have. It's about 30, 40 pages.
Yeah, but it's... Anyway.
So that's neither here nor there. The second thing that the IG report verifies, absolutely, this is what it says, is that there was no justification to investigate Carter Page. And the reason is because the CIA told the FBI that he was one of their agents. This was in, I guess, part of the IG report you didn't read, since you only read the first half. The second half. Now,
Okay,
2 weeks ago, you told me that it was justified to investigate Carter Page.
Okay, so when we break.
So you were wrong about that too.
All right, so
So there were 3 things that you were wrong about.
so when we break, we'll look it up and you'll show me where I'm wrong in the report.
Okay, so I have to show you that Carter Page worked for another agency. It's called another agency.
Well, I
That's
said.
their words for the CIA.
I just said that he was an informant at sometimes, but he was also
No, I know what you just said.
All right.
Repeating it won't do any good.
Yeah.
He was working for the CIA, and the CIA told the FBI this. So
Yeah,
there
but-
was no reason to investigate him.
Well, we'll look it up because what I read is that they were still discussing investigating him, even though he was a source. Because I mean, like on TV,
I know, but the CIA vouched for him.
Okay, but that's
so if the CIA vouches for somebody, then you can't go to a FISA court and say that this person is a Russian agent, because that's what the FBI did.
all right. You're gonna have to show me in the summary.
So
where-
you didn't read anything in this IG
Yeah,
report, did you?
I read where it was.
You read the first 10 pages?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, it's a 20-page report, Rick.
19, but okay.
Okay, so listen to me.
So you're gonna show it-
I need to explain something to the audience, okay? So another thing is, 2 weeks ago, I was telling Rick that the FBI falsified a document in order to tell the FISA court that Carter Page worked for the opposition, meaning the Russians. And
Hold on, wait a second. That's not what did you find someplace where it says that?
yes, it does.
It says they.
The FBI falsified a document.
Now, what I
We argued about this a week ago, and you said I was lying.
no.
In fact, you said if they did, it was okay.
No, I didn't say that either.
Oh no, you said it was one guy. Your argument was, well, what if one guy did that? So what? Don't you remember, Rick?
I remember that the falsification involved changing a date.
No.
Yeah,
Rick, I don't care what you remembered.
but no, that's accurate. I remember that
but
accurately.
But that's not what he did.
Okay, well then I haven't seen that
information.
information. Then I haven't
listen,
seen.
fine, Rick. Rick, I'm sorry that you didn't see it, but these people need to hear the rest of my sentence.
Okay. But you accuse
Rick.
me of saying shit and believing shit when I'm telling you what I said. What I believe.
Okay.
So-
Well, the FBI falsified a document in order to present to the FISA court that Carter Page was a spy for Russia, and took out the sentence from the CIA that said he was working for them.
Okay, so you're going to find that in the summary where they.
I didn't know I'd have to find everything that I'm telling you, but I guess I
Yeah,
will.
well,
It'll
no,
take
when you
about
tell
an hour.
me stuff-
It'll take about an hour, but that's what we'll have to do on the break.
It shouldn't take an hour because
No,
the
it will.
summary is only 18 or 19
I understand,
pages.
but it's densely worded, and our director didn't want us to have to do this, but I guess everything has to be found for you now.
Before you do that, and I just want you to comment on this, Lance. But ultimately, what was found is there was no bias. The FBI, the IG, there was no bias,
Well,
and so that's
I understand, but if you can say that
there were
there's
mistakes, but there was nothing political.
I know. If the FBI lied to the FISA court consistently, which it did, if it committed frauds, if it lied about the sourcing of the dossier, if it lied to the court about who funded the dossier, and it did, it lied by omission.
Oh, so it just didn't, like as I've said, they didn't fully inform as many levels of the bureaucracy.
No, Rick, you're kind of interrupting me. The FISA court needed to be informed, one, that the Democrat Party funded the dossier. Two, that the dossier was completely unverified. 3, that Carter Page was working for the CIA, not the FBI, or not the Russians. So in other words, the FISA court the request was for the FISA court to give authority to the FBI to surveil Carter Page. Carter Page had an email chain. Now, when you investigate one person, you don't just watch them sitting in their house, masturbating, drinking coffee. You watch who they speak to. But according to the law, you can also watch whoever that person that spoke to them speaks to. So, if Carter Page, for example, wrote an email to Paul Manafort, then because Paul Manafort wrote emails to Trump, you could then legally surveil Trump. So the problem is that it was up to the FBI to tell the court that they wanted to surveil a CIA operative. By lying and saying that he was a Russian operative, they committed a fraud on the court. Now, when you do something like that, you're not without bias, because you clearly are willing to lie to get what you want. That's not disinterested. If they had no bias, then when they got the message from the CIA saying this guy is with us, they would have dropped the whole thing. But they wanted to do this so badly that one of them is going to jail for falsifying a document.
Yeah,
What
I
does
think
it
you're
say that?
spinning this, but we're going to find out in what, 8 minutes? When's our break?
3 minutes. But
3 minutes.
There's nothing. You're just opining, Lance.
Yeah, I think there's some opinion in there.
No,
But-
actually, there in the IG report it says that an FBI lawyer falsified a document about Carter Page.
But it was just mistakes.
But if somebody says, I'll give you an example to why this is so serious. Don't interrupt me, either of you. It's not a mistake to say to somebody, look, that guy is a Russian spy. That's not a mistake. Because if you are working for the US government and somebody says you're a traitor, the punishment for treason is execution. That's not a small thing. Now, we don't execute a lot of Russian spies, but we can. So when somebody accuses you of treason, an accusation, if you are proved to be falsely accusing someone of treason, something they could be executed for, there are laws against that.
Yeah, you know, in all the frickin' spy movies and novels that have existed for the past 100 years, there are double agents. There are people who are spying for more than one entity.
I understand, Rick, but the problem is, if you're going to say someone's a double agent, you have to have a verified dossier showing that they're a double agent. You can't just come up with it when you're sitting in the bathtub. And what the IG report says is that the dossier was not verified, nor was it verifiable.
Okay, are we breaking? Okay, let's break. And also, let's write. Okay.
All right, so let's go over what we found now. For those of you that are curious, this is the executive summary of the Investigator General's report. Now, when you begin the report,
The whole report is 400 plus pages, but the summary is 18 or 19 pages, so if you're really interested, it's a good summary.
according to the report, Rick, it begins by saying that the whole report, the whole investigation began with Papadopoulos telling somebody that he knew that the Russians had hacked the DNC emails. Now, according to the report, on page XII in the executive summary, it says that the FBI omitted Papadopoulos' statements to the FBI undercover person that he denied Trump that the Trump campaign was involved in the DNC hack. So the whole basis, so let me explain what this means. They had sent somebody undercover to just sort of feel Papadopoulos out, to just sort of talk with him. And this is called a consensual surveillance, meaning that he didn't know that he was being pumped for information. So on page
How can it be
XII,
consensual?
because he wasn't being brought in against his will. He wasn't being ordered by the
It
court.
was what you're saying is it's
He wasn't-
apparently friendly.
It was, yeah, it was,
Can
he
you
was
hand me the
meeting with
computer,
somebody.
though?
Okay, so Papadopoulos said that the Trump campaign wasn't involved in hacking the Russian emails, and that was pumped out of him. But so they admitted that from the warrant to the FISA court. On page XII,
Well, hold on one thing before we go on. There's a small clarification on page II of this thing. That wasn't the only thing. The FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane just days after receiving information from a friendly foreign government, reporting that in May 2016 during a meeting. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that is. Yeah, okay, that is. You're right. Okay, that's fine. Sorry.
okay, according to page VI, the IG states that the dossier, the Steele dossier, was central and essential to the FBI's attempt to get a warrant. According to page XII, column 2, the subsource, that is the person that Steele was relying on for his information, he's called Subsource 1. He's a secret agent in Russia. This subsource,
A secret source, not a.
this subsource contradicted Steele, okay, on essential points. So in other words, the dossier that Rick so firmly believes in was contradicted by the source himself that gave the information to Steele. That's page XII, column 2. All right? According to page 11, now I switched to just the 11, just what we're scrolling on, not the actual I's or X's. According to page 11, column 1, the FBI was unable to corroborate any allegations against Page in the dossier. Okay? Rick still believes the dossier.
No. Okay,
But-
let's be clear, because you scored an important point. At the same time, it's not that I'm completely deluded. What this summary says, what the IG report says, is that much of the dossier, or some of the dossier, contains corroborated. No, just let me finish. Corroborated stuff, including stuff that became commonplace knowledge. However, and this is the important point, because the FISA document, the FISA warrants were obtained in order to surveil Carter Page.
Correct.
Okay. And with regard to those parts of the dossier, 4 parts specifically pertaining to Page, because apparently Steele turned in more than 100 reports. Only some of them pertain to Page, and they named the 4 ones that they relied on in getting the warrant. Nothing in these 4 reports from Steele could be corroborated. And that's a big deal.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean the entire dossier is bullshit. It
Rick,
just means
Rick,
that. But I'm just,
if-
no, listen.
No,
let me,
I know.
but one more thing. This is important, and it's a point for you. It's a huge point for you. The report says that without that stuff from the dossier, and that they may have decided not to try to get further FISA warrants.
Okay.
So it's a big deal that they glossed over. The FBI kind of glossed over the not being able to verify this shit and went ahead and got warrants based on it.
Okay. The FBI was unable to corroborate any allegations against Page. Also, the allegation that Trump was having sex with prostitutes or washing the pee on a bed, that was also from source number one, and he said that was a joke. That he actually, that's in later pages in the IG report. He actually said that was a joke that he'd heard in a bar. So that was also reported to the court. According to the CIA on page X of the IG report viewed the dossier as an internet rumor. Okay? On page 9, XI, the FBI lied about Carter Page being in the CIA.
They didn't lie. Here's what they did. They lied by what you said, by omission. They left out, and in fact, in one place, they actively, some guy who works for the FBI, removed a reference or stuck in they removed references to Carter Page having been a source for the CIA for 5 years, from 2008 to 2013.
The FBI had a 28-minute phone call with the CIA. The CIA, and then after the 28-minute phone call, the FBI guy said, "Fine, we have no need to proceed further." But then he actually changed the email that the CIA had sent him. They sent him an email saying that Carter Page was a source. It took that part out.
That's what
and instead said that Carter Page was not a source. Okay? On page 7, on page 10, there is an item number 7. The IG report says that one of the biggest mistakes that the FBI made was on page 10, number 7, they call Page a Russian agent. But then they omitted that he had denied ever meeting a fellow named Session. So in other words, Page was also sort of friendly interviewed. And they brought up to him a Russian oligarch or spy named Session, Sechin, and they omitted that Carter Page had ever claims that he never met the guy. So if you're going to say somebody's a Russian spy and that you need to investigate him, and this is, by the way, the other stuff you were talking about. This is the stuff that wasn't in the that this is why. Remember when you started off saying that Carter Page was probably a double agent? That's because
I didn't say
the
that.
FBI said...
I didn't say that.
You said he could have been a double agent.
I'm saying
That's
that-
why they were already investigating him. Well, the reason was because he's supposed to have met with a Russian called Session that he... it was revealed he says he'd never met him. And they could not prove that he had. Okay, that's on page 10,
Yeah,
item
I'm
number
looking
7.
at it right now. Okay, so
Okay, another thing. So according to page 11, another thing is that the FBI failed to mention on page 11. The FBI omitted that the dossier was paid for by the Clintons, by the Democratic Party. So they went to try to get a warrant against Trump with a dossier that was paid for by the Clintons, and they didn't tell that to the court. So I think that's good enough for now. Do you still believe in the dossier, Rick? Do you think it's verified and reliable? Has any of this changed your mind, Rick?
Yeah,
Okay.
some, I mean, all right, so, I mean, the deal is,
So you think it was unjustified to investigate Carter Page, who is free today and has admitted in public this week that he was a CIA agent and has not been denied by anyone in the government or by the IG report.
so,
Because 2 weeks ago you told me it was justified to investigate Carter Page.
at this point, I don't know. I mean, so, when you say CIA agent,
He worked for the CIA.
he was he was approved as an operational contact of the CIA. I don't know if that means.
He was approved as an operational contact of the CIA. So Rick can't be sure now. That's a little too complicated.
Well, so at the very least, he was some kind of informant for the CIA.
Yes. So
Okay.
he's not a Russian spy, and there would be no justification to investigate him. Right, Rick?
No,
According-
there might still be some justification,
Okay,
but,
but
hold on, let me know.
But according
no,
to a page, page XII, the FBI had a 28-minute phone call with the CIA that called him a source. Okay?
Mhm.
All right? So there was no justification that the FBI had to investigate him.
I don't know, but what you have shown me is that nothing in the Steele dossier it could be corroborated that showed that Carter Page should be nothing from the dossier should have been used to try to get a FISA warrant against Carter Page.
Because it was not
That part of the dossier.
It was not a credible dossier. There were the other part that Trump was consorting with prostitutes.
Yeah, well, that had nothing to do with the.
And that Michael Cohen was in Czechoslovakia. That was disproven. And that the CIA.
But that has nothing to do
And that the
with.
Russians had a station in St. Petersburg, Florida. That wasn't corroborated. And that.
Yeah, but none of that went into the FISA.
Yes, it did. The whole dossier went in, including the P tape. All of that went in, and none of it was corroborated. In fact, source number one, Steele's source,
Said it was a joke he heard in a bar.
said that it was a joke he heard in the bar, and that nothing in the dossier could be corroborated.
Well, that's two different things.
Nope. Steele, okay. Let's see. Source number one.
We don't need to argue about.
Subsource XII subsource contradicts Steele, and that the subsource.
All right, this is just boring. The director's asleep. Let's just be clear that nothing from the dossier should have been used to get a FISA against Carter Page.
But also, the dossier was full of the sex rumors.
Yeah, but
It claimed that Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney,
Okay.
had gone to Czechoslovakia. It was wrong about that. See, Rick, what I'm trying to tell you is you keep hanging on desperately that somehow something in this dossier was true, like the Bible, like something your mom would tell you. And I'm telling you, nothing has been verified. It is discredited. It is not. It cannot be used as a source.
I don't know why you're trying to say that.
Because for 2 years now, you've been telling me, but I believe in that there are things in it that are true, and you've never been able
That's
to show
true.
me. What are those things?
In fact,
Rick?
it says
Rick,
in here-
what are those things?
About Russian interference.
But that wasn't in the dossier. The dossier also claimed that Trump was working for the Russians. That was also not verified.
Just because there's stuff in there.
But it's how much has to be wrong for you to finally say this is bullshit.
I just said that to what extent, they say the dossier is central and essential to
Yes.
getting the FISA warrant.
Right.
And I just said that the dossier can't be relied upon to get the warrants. So
Yeah, but you still believe in the dossier. After 2 years and after an IG report, you still believe in it.
what good does it do to believe in the dossier? What I believe is, I just said that, and you said it doesn't matter, that the dossier has more than 100 chapters.
And so you believe in those ones that you don't know about.
No, because this executive summary that we just read said that some of the dossier has been verified and some of it was indeed common
Can you
knowledge.
show me what those things are? Because I had to show you the things that were not verified.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, why are we arguing about this?
Because you're brainwashed.
I'm not.
trying to get you to
I
understand
just said
that your whole...
No, just shut up for a fucking second, damn it. I just said that the dossier can't be relied upon for the FISA.
But you still believe in it.
It doesn't fucking matter. The dossier is
No,
only
it does matter.
important.
It does matter.
Why?
Because
What do I believe in? I don't believe in any. I don't believe that Trump hired people to pee.
Do you believe that Trump colluded with Russia? Because that's what the dossier says.
The dossier says all this shit. I believe.
All right,
here's
do
the
you
deal.
believe that Trump colluded with Russia? That is in the dossier.
I don't really. You have to define colluded and everything. I believe that Trump has been a useful idiot.
Do you believe that Trump colluded with Russia to get elected? That he met with Russians? That's in the dossier. That the Russians came to Trump, or Trump went to the Russians and said, "I need you to help me to get elected." Do you believe that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, so Trump did not collude with Russia.
I think that Trump has likely been manipulated
Can
by
you
Russia.
prove that, please?
I don't have to prove it. I
No,
can
you
an
have to
opinion.
prove it.
I don't. I can have an
No,
opinion.
no, because-
I don't have to prove it. I can have a fucking opinion.
What is your
Lance.
opinion based on?
That Trump has. Well, all right. Today, the IG report came out yesterday. The articles of impeachment came out today. And on the day that the articles of impeachment came out, Trump met with Lavrov, the Russian emissary, in the Oval Office. Now, among the issues leading to impeachment has been that Trump was trying to get favors from the Ukrainian government people to look into Biden. So, and among the things that the Ukrainian president was hoping to get was a meeting with Trump in the Oval Office. Today, when...
Why do you think that Trump colluded with Russia, Rick?
I don't think that. I think that Trump has been manipulated by Russia.
Can you prove that?
No, I can't.
Okay,
I
why
don't
do you
have
think
to.
that? No, you have to.
I can
You
think
have to.
something with
Why do you think that, Rick?
proof that God exists.
No, I want...
No, you fucking prove that God exists.
You
You prove that God exists. You think God exists, right?
Okay.
Now I say prove it. You can't prove
The
it.
audience believes that you are an illogical, irrational person.
I can have an
Unworthy. You have
opinion.
no credibility right now.
No, fuck you. I've got plenty of
What is your
credibility
opinion
because I've
based
been
on?
clear about
What's
it.
it based on? Why do you think Trump colluded with Russia? Why do you have this opinion?
No, you keep. I think you like
Because
colluded as a
Lavrov
term. Shut
met
up for a
with him in
fucking.
the Oval
Shut up!
Office.
Shut up! Shut up! Fucking shut up! Now listen. I believe that Trump has been manipulated by Russia. That doesn't mean that he sat down with.
Why do you believe that?
Based on his behavior towards Russia.
Like what?
Like what I just said today, that he's meeting with a Russian guy in the Oval Office
Met
today.
with a Russian guy? So that means he colluded with Russia?
I didn't say he fucking colluded with Russia. I
You
said
said you believe that he colluded with Russia.
I haven't been fucking saying that. I've said now fucking how many fucking times do I have to say I think Trump was manipulated by Russia?
Prove
That's
it.
fucking I don't have to fucking prove it, asshole.
You can't
I don't
prove
have
it.
to I can't
Okay.
prove it. I have an opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion
What's it based on?
on Trump's behavior. And
What,
Trump,
like what?
Trump has a history of, now you're going to say, oh, well, Trump gave weapons to Ukraine. But the deal is that Trump was pokey in imposing sanctions against Russia. That Trump has been more receptive, more friendly to Russia.
Did Obama give weapons to the Ukraine?
No, he didn't. See, I said that's what you're going to say, and but I'm allowed
So
to
you
have.
have no proof that he.
No,
was manipulated
I have
by
an
Russia.
opinion. I'm
What's
allowed
it
to
based
have.
on?
I just said.
There are people watching this right now that are depending on you to defend the Democratic
Then I'm
position.
going to disappoint them because
You're
I'm
not-
just going to
you have
say
no
my
proof.
opinion.
You have no reason to believe what you believe.
I
You
mean,
can't back
when
it up
we
with
break,
facts.
when we break again, which we'll do in how many
You still
minutes,
believe in
Director?
the dossier.
7 minutes.
Okay, no, the deal
don't
is,
think
what
we
I
should.
believe is, I don't believe in, look, I've never believed, I was hoping the P tape would be true, but I never believed it would ever surface, or it's not something I believed in.
The dossier says that Trump colluded with Russia. Do you believe that? So the dossier was wrong about that, huh?
Look, I've yelled about this. I believe that Trump has been manipulated
And you
by
can't
Russia.
come up with one single fact.
When we break, I'll Google it, and we'll come up with a list of like 24 things. But no, I don't have it in my head, specific by specific.
See, if the president was a traitor, I'd have that in my head. I wouldn't need to look it up on some left-wing blog.
Well, then good for fucking you.
I mean, it's kind of important, don't you think? If the president is a traitor?
I don't have that list of shit handy, but I
All
can
right,
get it
that's
when
just
we
great.
break.
Did you know, by the way, that Biden received $900,000 from Burisma? Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden.
No,
That was revealed today.
then you got to show me when we break in 5
Oh,
minutes.
so you didn't know about that?
No.
Okay, that's good. So the Democrat media managed to conceal from you that Biden received $900,000, Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, from Burisma.
That's a big deal.
Why is that a big deal?
Well, because it's Joe Biden, a politician, receiving
So,
nearly $1 million.
So if Trump was kind of curious about that, it sort of makes
All right,
sense.
when
that he
we
would be,
break in
wouldn't-
4
doesn't-
minutes,
no,
you're
no,
going
no,
to show
don't
me
talk
that.
over me. If Trump was curious as to about why Biden was getting almost $1 million from Burisma, that
Trump-
seems
no,
reasonable.
That
don't
came
you
out.
think?
Wait, you said it came out today. Where did it come out?
I can find it for you if you want on the
Well,
break.
would Trump have known about this?
We don't know. Maybe he did. I would say that if he didn't know, his instincts are pretty good in asking the Ukraine to look into that.
Yeah, you're going to show me that in how many minutes, Director?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right, let's move on to Bill Barr, who now this report that we've been arguing about. And just to be clear, I've admitted, not really admitted, but I've said that the Steele Dossier shouldn't have been relied upon to get a FISA warrant against Carter Page. And there are parts of the dossier, not part of that, with regard to Carter Page, that have been verified with.
But you don't know what those parts
Yeah,
are.
I do, about Russian interference in the election.
Well, the part that it says is that they had gone to Trump to ask to work with him. Do you believe that part? So what exactly?
I believe the internet meddling. I mean, the
Internet meddling.
the huge campaign.
That wasn't in the dossier, by the way. The internet meddling.
Yeah, it was.
We can look that up if you want.
I don't want to waste time on it, but there are parts of the dossier, and I've said this all along, that there are parts of the dossier that have been verified.
But you
There are
don't know
parts-
what they are.
Yeah, I do. The parts of the dossier regarding the Trump's meddling in the election.
Trump?
I mean, no, Russia's meddling in the election.
Okay, and therefore the dossier should be used to attack Trump. Because the dossier,
But
see,
what do you
no
want?
one, no one is disputing that Russia interfered in our election.
And the dossier discusses that.
The dossier says that there was a concerted campaign where Trump and Russia colluded, working together.
As I've said, the dossier contains more than 100 chapters.
Okay, but you believe in the chapters that you don't know what's happening in those chapters.
I just said the chapters regarding Russia's behavior.
But did I mean, I could have told you that Russia colluded, that Russia interfered in our campaign. They do that with every campaign.
Okay, fine.
So because of a general sort of truism, something that everyone knows, you believe in the dossier.
I believe that parts of the dossier are true and verified.
Even though source
No,
number
but this is
one
bullshit.
has
This whole
contradicted it.
fucking argument is bullshit. I just said the essential parts of the dossier are not verifiable, and maybe not and are not verifiable, probably not true. But I said there are other parts of the dossier not regarding Trump, if you want, but just regarding
not regarding Trump.
the dossier is about Russia.
But the dossier is the only thing that shows that accuses Trump officially of colluding with Russia. So now you have nothing to stand on. Nothing.
You keep saying that
You just have an
Shut
emotion.
up, shut up. You keep saying colluding. I keep saying it's not colluding. It's being manipulated by Russia. If it's not colluding, I just said that there wasn't,
Was he consciously manipulated by Russia? Was he aware of it?
Maybe, I don't know. No,
You don't know. You don't even know.
So yeah, I don't know.
Are you being... so anyway, how do we know? So if he was being manipulated by Russia, but he didn't know that he was being manipulated by Russia, what does that tell you? I mean, what does that mean? You're saying that there were times that he did things that the Russians wanted him to do, and that proved that he was manipulated by Russia, but you don't know how? And you don't know what those things were.
Yeah, well,
How did they manipulate him, Rick?
well, for one thing, he's wanted to build Trump Tower Moscow for decades.
I see.
For another thing,
So he built Trump Tower Moscow,
He
and
did
that's how
not.
they manipulated him?
but he
So he never did. He never built Trump Tower Moscow.
no, but
So I
he's-
guess that manipulation didn't work, did it?
what kind of argument is that?
I'm just saying. I mean, if
No, so
you're
if-
saying that they knew
If
that he
a
wanted to
pretty
build this
girl,
hotel.
if an attractive woman manipulates you by being flirtatious, it gets you to do stuff. So you weren't manipulated as long as you didn't fuck her, as long as she didn't let you have sex with her.
Well, my point is that if he didn't know, if he
Maybe he knew. I don't know.
So you're saying that the Russians got Trump to do things without him realizing it, because he was tricked by them.
Maybe.
And
Or
you
maybe.
know this. You know that he did.